everything else. So that's my world right now. I do fire damaged houses.
Is it a great return on those?
Oh yeah, because you're buying them for nothing, and I mean it takes a lot to put it in, but if you're buying them right, then you've got enough spread. I mean, this one's in the Northeast. Bought it for about 30, 25. We'll have about 100 or so in it, 120 in it, and the ARV is 225, 250. So should work.
Okay.
Yeah, should
So
work.
maybe 100K, like 90K. That's
Should
nice.
work. Should work.
Yeah.
Never works out that way, but we'll be close.
So Northeast just came a long way from when houses were $5,000.
Oh, yeah, the good old days. I used to buy houses from Landbank for $500 a piece. That
I don't know.
nothing got sold for a long time, and they went through two different directors, and I don't mess with them anymore. It's too many hassles. So I go elsewhere.
Buy directly from the owner is probably easier if you can.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's we had a guy that I did a webinar. This is about a year ago. In fact, you referred him to me. This guy in Connecticut. I can't remember the name of it. And I did one on buying fire damaged houses. And this guy from California calls me up after I did it. And he says, I heard your webinar on buying. I'm in California. I've got one house. It's on 39th and Bell Fountain. I fixed it up. Tenant burnt it down the first month she was in there. I got my insurance money. I want to out, take it off my hands. So there you go. Got it for almost nothing and fixed it up. I rented it for a while and then we sold it. So
I did that once. It didn't work out so well.
sometimes
Well, it
they
worked
don't.
out great for me, but we bought the house, we rehabbed the house, we sold it to an airline pilot. He put it on Section 8. The tenant set the kitchen on fire and didn't destroy the house, so it was rehabbable. He got his insurance money. He sold us the house for $1,000, and we sold it to another investor for like $5,000 or something.
Yeah, yeah.
He rehabbed it. We don't know this. The previous tenant came back and burned the house to the ground.
Oh,
So he got his insurance money, and now there's a grassy knoll there now.
yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
When we bought this house, the fire caught the side of the neighbor's house on fire. And of course, when I bought it, she blamed it on me and did all sorts of nasty things to the house. And I just replaced her windows and fixed it, even though it wasn't my fault. But sometimes you got to make nice in the neighborhood and keep everybody happy.
So I've done that.
Cost of doing business.
I rehabbed the neighbor's garage
Yep.
because it was basically in my yard and it made my house look really bad. So to sell it, I rehabbed his garage. He got a nicely painted garage, and I don't think we gave him a new roof, but we did do all the exterior and make it look nice. So
Oh yeah, I've painted neighbors' houses before. 90-year-old lady, has nobody to, and I can't sell mine because of what it looks like next door. So I just sent the guys over and we scraped and painted it and sold the house. So you got to do it. Joys of urban core properties.
So I kind of know what Larry does, but what does Ronald and Mike do?
Rod's just wanting to learn.
Ah, Ron's learning. All right.
No, my main problem is I'm stuck at skip tracing. I have no idea how to do it. Every site I went to is either false leads or out of date leads.
Well, I did. If I was just doing one-offs, I had a subscription to Intellis, and it worked very good for my needs. But if I was doing large quantities of them, Deal Machine has unlimited skip tracing with all the services they offer. So
Yeah, I really like Deal Machine. It's awesome. Deal Machine is cool.
If you're doing a lot, I was only doing like 3 or 4 a month, and so $99 didn't make sense for 3 or 4 a month. And Intellis was only charging me $9 a month, but it wasn't as robust as Deal Machine. So
which one would you guys go with? Doing it the old school way or doing AI?
What, skip tracing?
No, just real estate investing.
Oh.
what are you trying to do?
Well, I'm trying to wholesale a bunch of houses so I can get my own place.
Well, I gave up on wholesaling and skip tracing. Maybe Mike's doing a lot of that, but it was too much work for me.
It is a lot of work. I've been cold calling all day with no luck. So it's the market is very saturated with wholesaling right now. But Deal Machine is the best way to go.
I
Okay.
use a software thing is called, and I don't do wholesaling. This has never been my thing. It's called Propwire, and it's actually free. And you can go on it. It doesn't have the robust search like all the rest of them does, but it does enough. You can plug in, give me all the houses in Paducah, Kentucky that are absentee owners and been vacant, and you'll get your list. So it does all the searching stuff, and it does the skip tracing, not the best job, but it's like 10 cents a search. You put in $20 in the in your pot, and you can do those things. I've been working off of that probably for a year. So it'll give you the name and some phone numbers and an address of who you're going
Okay.
after, and that's a place to start. But it's free.
Okay, I appreciate that, Larry.
Yeah, Propwire, PROPWIRE.com.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna try that one as well.
Yeah, that's all we use. We do that, and that usually gets me started on, who owns the house and what I got to do.
Okay.
And it'll also tell you, if you find the guy that owns it, it'll tell you everything else he owns in the entire country. So you might find out he only owns one in Kansas City, but he might own 50 in Detroit. So, it's really pretty good for free. It's a really nice service.
Appreciate that.
Propwire, PROPWIRE.com.
So how's it going
Yeah.
for you, Mike?
Today nothing, but hopefully I'll get a lead somewhere in there. I'll try to keep it pushing. But I'm wanting to start to get into the fix and flip game as well.
Okay. Well,
So
I definitely would say talk to people that wholesale or not wholesale, that fix and flip. But I'll talk a little bit about that as well. I know Larry could probably have resources. Maybe it sounds like he's figured out how to navigate getting a permit downtown at the city. I've understood that that's almost impossible since
It's
September 15th of last year.
It is an absolute nightmare. We did an apartment building, an 8-unit apartment building. It took me a year and a half to get my permits approved. It's
wow.
just ridiculous. And going down there and throwing a tantrum in the lobby, trust me, they'd love
It didn't help.
never to come back again.
I will give Ron and Mike some input. This is not my deal, but we did the Deal Machine Challenge a few months ago, and one of the guys that came on, he is a roofer, and he already had an AI system set up that would, and whether this passes all the rules and regulations of what you can and can't do, he had an AI system set up that automatically texted people to see if they would want a roof. It would chat with them a little bit if they responded. And if they responded so far, then it would have, connect them with a real person to set up an appointment to get their roof bid. He pulled a list from Deal Machine and plugged that into his AI and did the same thing with motivated sellers. And he put 300 people in, and AI in the afternoon ended up with 25 appointments for him to decide if he wanted to go look at 25 houses.
Wow.
And but the AI system is not something you can go buy. It was something proprietary that he had built for
He
himself.
had already set up. Man.
But
did he land some of the deals? Did he?
well,
Did
I would
he get
think
one?
he got some. I mean, out of 25, I would think he would have gotten one
Got
or two.
one. Right.
Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome.
I haven't talked to him since the Deal Machine Challenge. I ought to see how he did. He was supposed to call me and tell me he had some and sell them to me, but he didn't sell it. So he already has buyers. So what are
Right.
you doing, Corey?
I'm listening right now.
Yeah, you're listening.
Right.
All right. Well, we're just this is networking hour. So questions, answers, share whatever you would need input on. As long as it's something we might be able to help you with, we'll give it a shot.
Larry, I'm still looking to come take you out for that cup of coffee.
Whenever, I'll put my number in the chat if you want to, yeah, call me. There was I had a gentleman call me last night, from the new investor meeting that I dropped by to help out at, and he just wants to get in the car and ride with me for a day, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, no problem." So we put you in the car and ride you around, and I'll show you what's going on.
No doubt. Some of that stuff y'all was saying about the skip tracing and all that. What when they say driving for cash, is that similar? I mean, I know what you're saying, skip tracing. I'm looking for people's names and numbers and seeing if they got some property for sale that they don't want or whatever. But when I'm driving for cash, I'm doing the same thing. Ain't that right?
Pretty much. Driving for dollars, driving for cash, you're looking for a house that looks maybe vacant, looks run down, looks like somebody might be in financial distress because they haven't taken care of it or they've abandoned it. And then using the skip tracing to track down, you can go to the tax records and see who's supposed to own it. You can knock on the neighbor's door to see if they'll tell you anything, which might be better than skip tracing. I know other people that leave notes on the door, and then skip tracing to see if you can find phone numbers to call or text. And usually if you're finding it by driving by it physically, nobody else knows about it unless they've driven by it physically. So, and if you were at the meeting last Tuesday, Troy mentioned that if you were driving physically by it, to do a selfie in front of it and put that on your postcard that you were sending them, because that would stand out and would have you in the picture and it would look different than anybody else, because most people aren't going to take a selfie of themselves in front of the house because they're doing a mass mailer of 1,000, so, or 2,000.
Do any of you guys deal with that lead flow? What is it? App, or I guess it's like Deal Machine.
I haven't heard of lead flow.
It used to be real. Well, it used to be Real Flow, and then they put some type of little app in it, and now it's Deal Flow. I mean, Lead Flow. I'm sorry.
I have not.
I've found that they're all, depending on how much, but they're all pretty much the same. They all tag into the same list, vacant houses or from the post office, or they haven't delivered mail for 30 days, so they all draw from from the same well. And you can, like this Propwire, I mean, we make lists, all the time. But you mentioned the neighbors. I always knock on the door of the neighbors, and if they're living next to a house where the grass hasn't been cut and it's a mess, they'll tell you everything they know. Oh yeah, that's Miss Kizzy, and she lives out, she died, but the kids are out in Florida, and and boom, boom, and don't call this one because he's in jail, but you can call this one, and because they just want it fixed up. They just want it fixed up. So that's if they know, they're a fountain of information. They'll tell you whatever you want to know.
Does that help at all, Corey?
No, it helps tremendously. I got one more question. The Landbank. Have anybody had any good luck with the Landbank?
Yeah, I bought probably 20 of them from the Landbank when Ted Anderson was there. Those were the good old days. Since then, you can't even get them to answer the phone. I don't know what's going on down there. So I don't even mess with them anymore. It's just not worth it.
Right.
Are you buying just finding houses, Larry, or are you going like other vacant lists, dangerous buildings?
Yeah, actually, I'll go to the dangerous building list, and or I watch the news every morning to see what just burned down. But dangerous building is a good resource for me, because I'll go to the ones that have been on there, and I'll call Orville Smith, who I've worked with for years. Orville, who you got that you want me to get off your list? And he'll give me like 10 names. And boy, if you can get this guy, you'll be my best friend. And he gives me all the information. I go call him up and I say, well, they're going to tear your house down, man. I can give you some money, or they'll tear it down and they're going to come after you for 30 grand to tear the house down. So what do you want to do? So, and then I'll go back to Orville and he'll send out the demolition notice and the guy calls me the next day. So it's kind of like having Tony Soprano working for you. So yeah, I go to my thing has always been go where nobody else wants to go. And
So what is the temperature of the real estate market right now? I mean, is it hot? Is it cold? Is it lukewarm? Is it stand by and watch?
Well, what is it? The Business Journal had an article today. I clicked on it. I couldn't read it. It wouldn't let me in past the paywall. And it was like, oh, it's a buyer's market almost, yeah, it's almost a buyer's market. So I went to KCRER, and an even market is 6 months supply of houses. If I'm correct, Larry, is that right? 6 months supply is an even market, and we have a we have a 2.1
Okay.
months of inventory, which is
Oh.
still very much a seller's market.
Right.
So everybody I talk to, if the house is priced right, it's selling quickly. My son listed a rental property for a friend, and it was under contract by the end of the day.
Does it
No,
matter
but
the area?
it's over here, but.
I mean, of course it does, but
point
some of
that
the
way.
harder areas,
Well,
that's
I mean, as long as you're not next to, like, the city dump, or the house next door is not the city dump, and the house is priced right for the condition
mm,
they are selling. But what everybody I've been talking to, we talk about this at Winvestors every week. I missed this morning or yesterday morning. So we always look at the data, but all the realtors in the room are saying if it's priced right and rehabbed right, it's selling. The people that are trying to push the limit and, oh, well, I thought it would sell for this, and so they listed a little high. It's taking longer, and then they're having a price drop. But if you
Right.
price it right to begin with, they're still selling quickly. So
gotcha.
we're still probably, I think Kyle said we still had like a 1 to 3% increase in value is still going on, but it's pretty much flat because we feel it's flat because we're not getting the overlist prices like we were. Maybe that's different in the urban core. I don't know, but everybody at that meeting list everywhere. So
Yeah, we're not doing as many as I used to just because I don't want to work that hard anymore. But yeah, it's taking a little longer, and it depends on obviously the time of the year. Now it's summertime, so things are heating up a little bit. We got one under contract, yesterday, I forget. And it had been on the market for probably 3 weeks. So it's out there. So you throw it out there and see what happens.
Just curious, Larry, when you said that backup was going on with permits, what's causing that? Is that a shortage of inspectors?
No, they made some change from what I was told, and this was from my the architect I deal with. They kind of cleaned house, changed house, and they've kind of got this thing where little guys like us, quote unquote, they're all taking shortcuts. We got to teach them a lesson. So they make it. They just run you through the ringer, and there's a lot of guys that don't even pull permits, and they're doing structural work, and that's dangerous. And I've taken over projects for other guys, and who moved the wall and where's the permits, and then you get red flagged, and there's hell to pay for the rest of the house. So it's the old half these guys they all screwed up, and now the rest of us are paying for it. So they've made it purposely hard. They go back, and I mean my plans weren't dark enough for them. Everything was fine. They just wanted them a little darker. And that took 3 weeks to get through that little nonsense. So they just,
They also adopted last fall a most cities, there's universal building codes, the utopian of universal building codes, and most cities adopt a watered down version of that because a 100-year-old house can't be brought up to brand new LEED energy efficient standards. It's not possible. Well, the city adopted universal building codes and didn't water them down.
nope.
And one article I read, it was a builder, they're like, I can't get a building permit unless I'm building my house facing a certain direction so I get the east facing sun so I can get, I mean, that was one of the codes was ideally the house is east facing so that it gets morning sunlight to warm it up and it's cooler in the back in the evening. I don't know. He says, but my lot doesn't face that way, so I can't get a building permit for my house.
It's, yeah, there, it's just,
Oh,
it's difficult. It's they make it needlessly difficult. And if you go down, like if now I've got my permit, so when the electricians and, they go down, if they send their permit request online, it could take 2-3 weeks for them to get their permit. If you go in there, you can walk out the door with it in 20 minutes, assuming that, you want to sit there and wait for an hour to find somebody to go talk to. So it's just, they're shorthanded. And you can't say anything because they'll get an attitude, and then we'll just keep sticking yours on the bottom of the pile. We'll see you next year. So it's difficult. It's this, everybody has the same problems.
We want to see what's going on in Terry's world.
I was just trying to figure out what's going on and how to get started, and questions about like the structure in your LLC, or just basically how to get started with the whole thing.
Well, my advice is until you have a deal, you don't need an LLC. You don't need to spend money on an LLC. Because I know so many people, they work real hard. They go get their LLC, they go get their website, they go get their business card. They get all of it. I'm ready. And then they never do anything.
Yeah.
So, I would explore attorneys for getting an LLC set up so that when you're ready to go and you have a house, if you wanted to buy it directly in the LLC, you can do that between getting it under contract and buying it. But I would not go form an LLC until you have the need to form one, is my personal opinion.
So my understanding is if you're going for maybe a hard money loan, they want you to have an LLC.
That's what I've learned too. Some of them would want to loan to an LLC.
they definitely want you to have a LLC, and the LLC, it's not as difficult as people will want you to think. You can get on you can go to what's that little
In Missouri, you
legal
can go to
Zoom.
the state website and register an
you
LLC
can
name
take
for
10
like
minutes.
$97.
Yep,
Yeah.
takes 10 minutes, and you just fill out the form, you push the button, give them your MasterCard number, and pops
But
out.
what you need is an operating agreement, and that's where an attorney comes in, is getting a good operating agreement.
Yeah.
Well,
And
now
then
you can with that AI stuff, you can tell AI to write
yes, you
your
can.
operating agreement.
I would still have an attorney review it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then where the attorney also comes in is giving the list of all the things that you need to do to keep your LLC legally an LLC so that you're getting the benefit of it being not you. Because so many times people go form the LLC, but they commingle money or they don't keep their records exactly right. So if they were ever to get sued, sorry, the LLC is just you and it was just a waste of paper.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Now,
What if they're checking they want you to have in good standing or something like that? Or...
Well, if you're going to go that far, you need to sit down, get it set up, and a good standing. All that means is you filed and paid all your fees and made all your reports like you're supposed to.
You go to the Secretary of State, you pay him $10, and if everything is right, push the button, it spits out your certificate of good standing and you're off and running. Yes, it's,
Okay,
you do it
so
once, it's really pretty easy.
But if you also go, I haven't explored the state of Kansas that much, but I'm sure it's the same. Every state has, you want to start a small business
mhm,
on their state Secretary of State's website. There's a link there. You want to start a small business, and it'll give you the steps. Do
Yep.
X, Y, Z.
Yeah, Kansas has it.
Yeah, I was sure it did. I just
Yeah,
haven't. I
I
don't
just
spend
did
as much
one,
time on the Kansas website as I do the Missouri.
I just did one in Kansas and it's a lot different than doing one in the state of Missouri, but it took 15 minutes instead of 10, so it's pretty easy.
Now, I don't I highly recommend your very first LLC.
Get an
But
attorney.
here's what I've also learned. If you set it up yourself, I mean, you can go create the LLC with the state and get a name. And actually, you can change that because our realty resource, I researched and researched and researched, and oh, well, nobody else was using that name until I actually filed the name in Kansas and
mhm,
went to get the same thing in Missouri. And they're like, oh, somebody else has that name. You can't do that.
Hmm.
So a realty resource operates under 3 LLC names. One is real and the other 2 are fictitious.
mm,
But I had to have different names in different states. So you can always go change your operating agreement. You can have an attorney step in and correct your operating agreement. Just do that before you're in the lawsuit, not you do that early on after you've bought it, not 10
right.
years down the road when you've been doing
Move,
everything wrong.
move, get back.
Yeah,
Some other question,
No.
what about the tax situation on that? The taxes, like the LLC versus sole proprietor?
That would be a CPA question. But it on your LLC, a sole proprietor, you're going to pay more taxes because
Yeah,
a sole proprietor is you.
yeah, that's what
And,
I'm looking for, to pay less taxes.
but to pay less taxes, if you are buying to rent, an LLC is usually what they have you do. You're not going to pay much less in taxes because it's going to pass through and still go on your tax return. But if you're flipping, that has a higher tax rate. They'll have you convert it to a subchapter S and pay yourself payroll. And when you start paying yourself payroll and taking out taxes that way, it gives you more tax deductions and you have less. It just works out better at that. I can't explain it because I'm not a CPA.
Yeah. Okay. All
But
right.
that is usually the standard answer every time we have a CPA. But they're also going to say it depends because it depends on what you do outside of real estate. So doctors and lawyers or people with high income, they might tell you to do something completely different.
Okay. Y'all know this guy keeps popping up on the internet about setting up your LLC out of a different state and
That's a bunch
doing
of
different
baloney.
things and try to hide yourself or whatever.
trust me, you can't hide. If somebody wants to sue you, they'll find you. They'll find you. There's so many ways you can find people anymore, so they'll find you.
Yeah, he's talking about Wyoming and Vegas and all different type of states, and
Yeah.
it
Well,
just seems like,
Wyoming actually has a
Yeah.
reason for it. I learned what that was. I was at a training event, and the way their LLC laws work, they have the most protection from being sued for just crazy stuff. And this guy was teaching how to do private partners. So you wanted your LLC to be in Wyoming with the most protection against getting sued in case your private partner, who is also going to be part of your LLC, got sued. It protected the LLC from all parties outside of it was, but unless you're doing massive fancy stuff,
yeah.
which 99% of the people are, getting an LLC in Kansas or Missouri is fine.
Mhm.
Well, I have a quick question. If we want to go virtual and do like a number of states, do we need an LLC in every state?
It depends on the state. I have bought notes in a lot of states, and when I ended up with a house to sell them, one state and one state only made me I didn't have to get a new LLC. I just had to register the one I had with the
Right.
state
Right.
so I could sell it. I had to register and get a certificate of good standing for a foreign LLC. It took 3 hours and $40.
Yeah. You just have to register in the state that you want to do business in, and it's just a form. You send them a little bit of money, and that makes you just put them on notice that you're doing business in that state. So they all do it. Kansas, if you're out of state and you try to do something in Kansas City, Missouri, no, you're not approved to do business in the state of Missouri, so we don't even do with you.
We also, back when Rick Davis was an attorney, or he's still an attorney, he's just not practicing, he spoke at MAREI and somebody asked that question. And he says, if you're doing a lot of business in another state, technically and legally, the law says you do need to be registered with that state.
Mhm.
But the question was being asked here at the state line, where half the people are, live in
Yeah.
Kansas and are investing in Missouri and vice versa. And he says 99% of the people that are going over on either side of the state line, 99% of the people are not registered in both states. So technically and legally, you're supposed to. As a practical matter, most people do not unless they get a roadblock put up in front of them, like I did when I was trying to sell a house in Salt Lake City, Utah. And they weren't going to close it unless I was registered in the state of Utah. So now I guess I'm invalid in Utah now because I never kept up the documentation, but I registered and got a certificate for that closing. So, well, my timer says it is 7 o'clock, and I'm going to go ahead and get started. So we had our early bird networking. I like to do networking on Zoom because that way we can connect with people that we don't normally see. So when we have the out-of-state people, or I have a few people that are members of MAREI that just can't come on Tuesdays. I wanted to give you a little new intro to our meeting, and then I was going to jump into my main presentation. So the reason why this meeting came about was I was actually at a mastermind for RIAs, and we had the question was thrown out, if we had to add 100 members to the RIA by the end of the year, if our life depended on doing that, what would we do? And so we made this list of all these things we would do, and I started implementing all of those. And I started getting people that were a lot of out-of-state people that were interested. I then started looking at our membership list, and we do have quite a few members that don't live here. I had one member that I met in January. She'd been a member for 2 years, going to all of our events from Costa Rica. But she had never been able to actually come to a meeting because once COVID was over and we could go back to in person, we stopped having virtual meetings. So she went to some of the other events we had here in Kansas City that are virtual, but she wasn't coming to meetings. And then I also have people that tell me they can't come on the second Tuesday. So I said, well, let's try the fourth Thursday. I didn't actually read the calendar and figure out that this is Labor Day weekend and everybody's going on vacation and not working Friday. But hey, we figured it out. We'll work on it. We're going to go ahead and record it. So that's why we came up with having a virtual meeting. I'm going to give it a shot for a good 6 months. And if we can grow it to what are we at right now? We're at 7 people. I'd like to get 20 to 30 people on here and grow it. We will. And if it doesn't work out, well, hey, we didn't hurt anybody's feelings trying. I wanted to give you kind of a tour of the member website because I'm going to talk about a lot of stuff throughout my presentation that are all resources for you that a lot of people don't know they're there. And I kind of wanted to show you where everything is and kind of give you an idea of what's coming up. So if I can share my screen, everybody seeing a calendar?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Well, this is the MAREIMember.com. So we have two websites. We have MAREI.org. That's this one. It's the public website. And then we have the members only. This is where you join. This is where you sign up for events. This is where you can access member stuff. You can log in up here at the top. And I think everybody's a member or pretty darn close to it. So what do we have coming up? This is tonight's meeting. I'm going to click on here to show you something. You already know about tonight's meeting, but if you go all the way to the bottom, we've got a couple of downloads. I'll have some links We had a couple more we dropped in the chat that Larry shared, but some of the links we talked about are going to be on the resource page here. And then I just downloaded the slide deck so that if you wanted to see my slides for any reason, you're not having to worry about trying to take screenshots or pictures of my slides. I always get annoyed when people take it distracts, especially in a live meeting. So I just give them to you, then you don't have to go take pictures. But what else do we have going on? I will also be posting the replay there. So if you ever attend an event and you're supposed to be getting the replay, it will be at the very bottom of there down here. So somewhere in here there'll be a video. You'll probably have to log in to see it, but to actually make it play, but the video will be there as well. So you know where to look for video replays. Has anybody found the Home Resource Network meetings? They're in Overland Park on Tuesday mornings. Is that new for everybody?
I've
Looks
seen it,
like
but I
That's,
haven't, I
is
haven't
that
been
the
able to
one
pay.
that Fred be at?
They meet at a ACA Club at 6840 West 105th Street.
I've
And
been
they
there
meet
once.
every Tuesday. They also stream it live on Facebook on their Facebook group. So you can join their Facebook group if you're, if you're sitting at work or driving in a car and can get on Zoom in your car or on Facebook in your car, you can listen in. But if you visit their Facebook page, Facebook decided that everybody that live streams their meetings, they're going to delete all those videos. So they went in and downloaded all of their videos for like the past year or so, and then they put them all in a Google Drive and then made a list. So there's a lot of good information in those video replays. So if you go to their Facebook page and find the featured post, you can find the list of all of their replays. And some of them are very good. If you wanted to learn how connected investors work, it's another one of those build your list, do your marketing, find deals websites. And we have a help night on that. They basically run through some of the tips and tricks of how that works. Anybody made the Winvestors meeting on a Wednesday morning? If you're available and near Waldo at 8:30, it starts at 9, but everybody gets there at 8:30. I understand they have amazing cinnamon rolls and great breakfast, and they usually go through the market data and whatever is the topic of the week. And that might be that there's some big law changing in the city, or something was in the news like the apartment that got condemned in Grandview, and we discuss issues of the day. Usually, every once in a while, there's a speaker. Last week, Julie Anderson came in to talk about what happens when your tenant dies in your rental property or gets incapacitated and moves to a nursing home or somewhere, and the house is now vacant. What do you do? What do you do with stuff? That was last week's meeting. They also put that on Zoom. If you're a part of their Facebook group, you can access it through Zoom. KC Capital, I think it's this night, but they move around. So they do a multifamily networking at the, what is it? Strang Hall in Overland Park. So that's like at 75th, at 80th and Metcalf area, where all that new development is. They do an event, and I got it wrong last month, so I'm guessing on their night. They change from time to time, so I'd always double check it, but it's free. You just go in and network, buy a drink. Summit Investors is not my group. It is a national group hosted by Vina Jones-Cox and a lot of group leaders. It was originally built as a help night to feed people into her Summit Real Estate Investor. She had a big conference, but on the fourth Wednesday or the fifth Wednesday, I think it's fourth Wednesday of the month, it's nationwide, and they pick a topic each month. This one, if you're interested in investing in rural properties and rural areas, she'll have 4 or 5 people from all over the country. One of them is Sam Wharf, multimillionaire guy. He's really smart. So whenever he's in the room, I just sit around and listen to him talk. He has a lot to share there. What else do we got coming up? The New Investors meeting is on the 2nd. The MAREI meeting on the 10th, we are going to analyze one deal, 3 ways. I'm going to have a landlord, a rehab flipper, and then a pad split person, and we're going to dissect a deal and see what we would do differently if we would even do the deal from different points of view. This is a class. This one has a fee. The master class is desktop analysis, how to analyze a deal. So, you get the seller, they call up and you get all the information. You're not sure if you want to go look at the house or not, if you want to proceed. She's going to go through desktop analysis. That is a $47 class. And we have another master class, how to keep more profit without doing more deals. I think that's more of an advanced class, not a beginner class. And this Life and Air thing, check it out. It's a free benefit for MAREI members. It's a 3-day event. They do this one 3 times a year. They do their Vision Get a Life Getaway 3 times a year. We've already done 2 of these, but we've got this one coming up in Chicago. This June one on the 26th through the 28th is virtual. Very well worth it. I just went through the Business Builder workshop in February. It was very helpful to help you kind of understand how to put a business together or rebuild your business if it's not working quite the way you want to. But it's not how to invest in real estate. It's more about creating your vision, your business, so you can build your life around it. So that's kind of what's on the calendar for the next month. You can jump in and interrupt me at any time if you have questions, just like last night.
I got one question.
Uh-huh.
The meeting that was, didn't we supposed to have a meeting like this past Monday or Tuesday that was maybe postponed because of the weather?
Yes, we had it last night.
Oh, you had it on Wednesday?
Yes, we moved it to Wednesday, so we had it last night.
Oh, so I missed it. Okay.
I sent out a little recap. I can I can send that out to you as well. But basically, we did a lot of question and answer.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I was planning on attending that one, but I didn't know it was moved to Wednesday. I must have missed it.
Well, we tried. I highly recommend. I need to tell you this: if you ever want to know if the weather is bad, usually that means if it's icy or 2 degrees. But it also means, I guess, if there's tornadoes and bad storms and I can't see the house across the street, we decided to postpone it. And so if you're ever wondering, you can always check the calendar. But we do, if you're pre-registered, we do send you an email and a text to let you know that we moved the meeting. So always check that.
Okay.
Because we had to cancel a meeting in January. We had to move it 2 or 3 days because of a blizzard. Not this January, but last January. And then we've had to cancel a meeting once because of weather. So we've never had to cancel it because of rain and wind, but there's always a first. There's another link on this website. If you are under the My Account and logged in and you click free stuff for members, that takes you to the library. You can learn how to update your member profile so other people can find you. You can activate your free website so you can market all those wholesale properties you're getting. You can find out how to save money at Home Depot. You can access this library, which if you're already here, you don't need that video. But then in the library, we have a ton of information. And I am actually going to talk about a lot of the replays tonight. Where are they at? I don't know. Meeting replays, that's what I'm looking for. But this is a packed library of stuff. If you're wanting to learn how to walk through a house, Crossroads has some great tips on that. Managing rental property, that is a bunch of videos and training from Andrew Sirios. Introduction to wholesaling is kind of a bunch of videos we put together from during COVID. It may or may not work, but I wanted to show you the meeting replay link. We've been recording the meetings since the beginning of COVID. So if there's a topic that you're like, I just really want to learn about something, they're in here. And as I go through my presentation tonight, I'm going to mention some meetings that you might want to go back and rewatch if you're interested in that topic. This is where they're at. If you're not a member, you can't really access this. So you have to be a member to get into all of the replays. We make them public for about 3 or 4 days, and then they're only on the replay page. So that is that. I want to now go to my presentation and talk about what we came here to talk about. So getting started. This is kind of what I wished I would have known when I first got started. I joined a group just like this, only it was much smaller. And while it was a great group, I discovered most of the people in the group didn't know, they knew about as much as I did. And some of them, most of them were not interested in learning more. They might have one rental property, but it did do some great things. I found my way to Larry. Larry helped form some of the information that I learned in my younger days. Larry's been around since Larry was only 25 when I met him back 25 years ago, right? Um, but this is what I would have wished. And what I've seen over the years running MAREI, the people that keep coming back and become successful, or the people that become super successful and we never see them again, what do they do versus the people that come for 3 or 4 years, never do anything, and then they drop out and I never see them, or they come for 3 or 4 months, give up, and I never see them. What are they not doing that everybody else is? I wanted to find out, what do they do when they become financially independent? What's the difference? What makes them different? Why now is one of the better times to get into real estate investor, why it's good to be new, and why you need more than motivation to keep moving forward, because you can be really pumped up and really motivated, but if you don't know what to do with that motivation, it's not necessarily going to work. And a lot of people come in, I want to mentor, I want to mentor. We're going to talk about that a little bit tonight as well. And then we're going to talk about some of the rabbit holes you get stuck in. Like we've already talked about, getting everything set up before we go do a deal. We don't need to get everything set up before we go do a deal. But why do we want to get in real estate? I don't think I need to convince everybody. Larry, why real estate? I don't need to convince everybody that you want to get into real estate because you're here, right? You already have decided real estate is something you want to do. But one of the things that stuck out to me at the Tuesday meeting, I don't know if you were there, I would go back and listen to it, but Troy said something I had never heard. It was, real estate is not a get rich quick system. It's a get rich for sure. Because as long as you do it and hold it long enough, you will pay it off. You will get the tax benefits, and you can 1031 it. There's a lot of ways to make money from real estate. I would go back, if you haven't been, check out, you can flip houses for cash, or you can wholesale for cash. You can get cash flow from rentals, and then you can get all the tax benefits of buy and hold. So I would go back and listen to the November meeting. Eric has like 7 or 8 ways you can make money from real estate. He said the flippers and the wholesalers were losing out. And anyone can do real estate. I've met people doing real estate that have no high school diploma even. Or you can talk to Brendan. He was a farm boy from Western Kansas, and he had a presentation in January. You can check that one out. Why me? What makes me different than some people? What makes me qualified? I've been investing in real estate for 25 years. I have rehabbed, I have wholesaled, I have hoteled, my favorite. I've done notes. I've been a landlord. I suck at that. I've done a little bit of everything. I have 23 years in REIA leadership. MAREI's been around for 21 years, and I was on the board of another REIA. I go to a lot of national events, so I'm learning from a lot of the other REIA leaders. So that kind of gives you an overview of what I'm doing. I've also been watching what all of our successful investors do, watching what the guys at Vanish do, and finding what the difference is. What did they not learn? What did they lack in resources? What did they lack in support? And how can we help them? What can we do as a group to help them? So we're going to start here on success. What makes a successful investor is going to be different from everybody else. So, when you all decided you wanted to be a real estate investor, what was your goal? Why did you want to become a real estate investor? Did you want just to make extra money? Your job sucked. You wanted time with your kids. What was your reason for getting into real estate? What else? Did you want to build wealth? Did you want to retire? Do you remember way back when you first got started, whether it was last week, last month, or 30 years ago? For me, the reason why I wanted to get in real estate was I was working 120 hours a week at Osco Drug, and I never saw my family at all. So for me, getting into real estate was a way for me to spend more time with my family. So my
Financial.
goal was to replace my job. That was my goal. Um, but I'm going to say everybody has a different reason for getting into real estate. It might be financial independence. It might be to pay off debt. It might be to save up to pay for kids' college. It might be to create that monthly cash flow so that you could retire the job. That was mine. Now, about 10 years in, that goal shifted to building wealth and retiring and leaving a legacy. I hadn't even thought that far. And then other people are doing it because they want to give back. Lisa, the person I was talking about earlier that joined us, and she lived in Costa Rica the first year she was a member of MAREI. She gives back. She's doing a rescue for dogs in Costa Rica. That's why she goes there. She brings a whole bunch of dogs back with her when she comes back from Costa Rica and adopts them out. I know other people that are doing charity work in third world countries and building schools and houses. But you need to figure out why you want to get into real estate, what that success is going to be for you. And the exact steps for each person is going to be different. There's no one size fits all on how to invest in real estate. So Ronald and Terry, or excuse me, Ronald and Michael were going to wholesale. So they have been out there wholesaling. They also thought they might want to flip. I know Larry's done a lot of rental property, and some other people might want to be in apartments. So it's going to be no one size fits all. So when you get started, it's going to be different from everybody for everybody because everybody's going to have a different idea of what success looks for them, and what they need to do is going to be different from the person next to them. So if you come into a MAREI meeting and you see 100 people there, or you see, what do we have here tonight? I have 12 people. Every one of you 12 people are going to have a different idea of what success is, a different goal, a different reason. So it's going to be different from each person. And if you meet somebody that's out there on YouTube saying, this is the way to invest in real estate, this is the best way, that person is probably trying to sell you Deal Machine. They're probably trying to sell you PropStream. They're trying to sell you on whatever it is they're selling you. And the reason why the best way to invest in real estate is their way is because you got to buy whatever they're selling. So you need to figure out what's right for you. What they're selling might be perfect for you, but then again, it might not be. You might find the free way to get the leads and do it a little bit differently, like Larry is doing. So I saw this post on Facebook last week. You may know Walter or you may not. His idea of being successful in real estate when he started was acquiring a bunch of rental properties, and then he discovered apartments, and he went and sold all of his houses, and he does apartments now. But he asked, would you rather flip 10 houses a year or own 30 rentals that cash flow $500 a month? One's going to take constant hustle to keep flipping those houses and getting your profit. The other, it's going to take some hustle to get them set up, some hustle to management, but they're going to be a lot easier overall to take care of. His other one was, would you prefer a one-time flip of $100,000 profit, or would you prefer $2,500 a month for life? And if you were on Facebook and you went through and looked at all the comments, half the people wanted the 100,000 for something. They wanted it to build the reserves. They wanted it to pay off debt. One guy wanted it so he could go buy a house so he could get the $2,500 a month. The other half of the people wanted the $2,500 a month. So it's going to vary. So you have to figure out, I can't tell you what success is for you. You have to figure out that success for yourself. And you also have to figure out where you are and where you're coming from as you join us here in real estate land. I would take time, set aside some time and figure out what debt you need to pay off if you have debt. What expenses do you need to save up for? How much cash reserves do you need to build up? You also need to think about, are you just getting started out in life? We were talking about house hacking at the meeting last night. And the house hacking is way easier for a single woman or a single man than a married couple with 2 kids. Because if you're going to go buy a house and either rent out the spare bedrooms or buy a duplex and rent out the other side until you've saved up enough to go to the next house, it's much easier to do as a single person than it is with a family of 4. Or if you're heading into retirement and you have a shorter time frame, how do you get there faster? Do you have a lot of time to devote to this, or are you super busy? So you need to think about that to help pick what you want to do. Is what do you need in your life and what can you do? So for me, wholesaling and doing all that cold calling and all that direct, I was doing a ton of direct mail. We were doing a ton of follow-up. It was great for me 2 years ago. My son took 6 months off when he had a baby, because I guess during COVID you can do that. You can take 6 months off and not do anything. So we took 6 months off. And when it came time to start doing all the marketing for wholesaling again, nobody wanted to do it. We decided we needed to find a new way of investing because it wasn't for us anymore. So we're doing a lot more. He's doing a lot more buy and hold, and we are looking at alternative investments so we can invest in other people's deals. Do you have a short time to get where you're going, or do you have a long time? So that's going to affect what you're going to decide what you want to do. Do you have a good paying job with tax advantages? I would say if you have a good paying job with tax advantages, keep that as long as you can, because that gives you much better access to loans at the bank with better rates, better terms, and it gives you insurance. And then if you have that income, you could offset that with tax advantages from buy and hold. What I usually see is people that have a good paying job that they like, they usually want to go buy rental property and buy and hold so they can get the tax advantages. Other people that might be coming from jobs that they don't like so much, they want to get rid of quickly, they're looking to flip to make cash so that they can then buy and hold. But there's going to be a few people that'll tell you can't wholesale your way to success. I can tell you, if you wholesale for 20 years, because we've done a lot of flipping and a lot of wholesaling, did we get the tax advantages? No. But did we invest that money into something else and keep that money? Yes, we did. We didn't take that wholesale money and just totally live off of it. It went in the bank. So you can do that. And only you know what you have. Only you know your needs, and only you can analyze what success is for you. And then you have to pick one of the 5 strategies, a version of it that's going to be right for you. And I'm going to talk about those 5 strategies. We've talked about this a little bit. Why real estate? Why now? Sales are slowing. Prices are stable, but they're still going down a little bit. But because there's fewer wholesalers, there's a little bit more sellers. The houses are sitting on the market a little bit longer. There's a lot more foreclosures hitting. If you talk to David Randolph, he's our short sale expert. And while we don't have the foreclosures we had in 2008 and 9, we are seeing a lot of those people that had forbearance agreements during COVID, which meant they didn't have to pay their mortgage for a while. Now they do. A lot of those people are going into foreclosure. A lot of the moratoriums that were in place that said banks, you can't foreclose on people during COVID, those are going away. So people are now hitting foreclosure, and the foreclosure amounts are going up. So there's a little bit more motivation out there, and there's better opportunity. And one of the best things I have been seeing is the people that are out there paying way too much for houses because they don't know any better. They don't really know what they're buying. A lot of those people are finding they can't do those deals, and they're giving up and they're getting out of the business, which frees up more space for you. And really and truly, if you talk to anybody that's been in there any time, any length of time, it's always a good time to get in real estate. The saying I've been hearing the past 6 months is time in the market is better than timing the market. Now, I know that was mostly for the stock market. That's what the stockbrokers are telling me. But I also hear that from all my people that buy houses and hold them. When I talk to Brendan, he's like, yeah, I just bought a house last week. It might have been the best deal of the world, but it's cash flowing, and I will build equity and I'll make money on it. Next, we want to talk about who are we going to trust, especially in a contracting market. And I want to tell you that there's a lot of great YouTube information out there. Don't get me wrong. I always go to YouTube and say, how does this work? And I ask YouTube how to get it put together. But a lot of the stuff that we're learning on YouTube only gives you half of the story, or it might be their only story is to sell you their widget. And a lot of the people out there pushing all this stuff on YouTube started investing in, say, 2019, 2020, as the prices were increasing and the prices were increasing. And an increasing market will cover up all kinds of sins and mistakes. We had a house, we didn't have a sin, we didn't have a mistake. It was a fire damaged townhouse in Overland Park. And when we bought it, we thought it was worth $216,000 fixed up. When we put it under contract, we thought it was worth $216,000. When we closed on it about 3 weeks later, the house next door was listed for 226, 230. And then when they sold it for even more than that. So we listed our house for 235 and sold it for 246. But when we started, we thought it was worth 216. It had appreciated that much in 60 days. And that will cover up a lot of mistakes or not getting the numbers right, not knowing what you're doing. So you need to stop and figure out the 8 things to getting all those numbers right. And I'll go over those in a minute. Then I would like you to do this thought exercise. You don't have to do it tonight. Do it sometime this weekend. And think about why you want to get into real estate, what you want your real estate to look like in 10 years from now, what your life and real estate should look like in 10 years. That's going to be your overall goal or target. Do you want to be out of your job, or do you want $100,000 in the bank to pay for kids' college, or do you want $5,000 a month in cash flow so you can quit your job? Think about that. And then the next thought exercise is what you want your life to look like 1 year from now. What financial benefits do you need right now? And that's going to help you pick the very best strategy for you. I know some of you already have your strategy. That's where you need to be. Or you might have picked your strategy, and if you go through all these steps, you might go, that may not be what I need to do. I was watching a similar presentation like this the other night. It was about a couple months ago. And that one of the people on here was like, yep, I'm going to get into wholesaling. I'm going to start there. I'm going to do a few of those deals and make some money. And then I might want to get into rental property. And as we went through the whole evening and looked at the various strategies and which strategies do what, by the end of the evening, we had totally talked him out of being a wholesaler, and he decided he wanted to probably go straight for buying that rental property first. So think about that, because you might change your mind as you go. So I want to go through the 5 ways to invest in real estate. Every time I see a presentation like this, they always have 5 ways. I have 6 ways for you. And I'm going to start with the 6th way, so that we don't lose the person that's the millionaire on the call that came to MAREI because they have money to invest. They don't want to wholesale anything. They don't want to rehab anything. They don't want to deal with tenants. They don't want to deal with a lot of paperwork. They don't want to work. They just want to make money from their money. Those people are at the MAREI meeting. I met one of those guys one night. He became my private lender. So if you are that millionaire on this call and you are looking for something to do with your money, there's a lot of options for you. You can lend to other people in the room. The person I met led me, one of our first deals, we had $300,000 out on a rehab property. We found another one. He said, sure, I can do that one. And we never did find his limit. He could just keep lending us money. And we knew he had $2 million out on a house in Leawood. So I don't know how much money the guy had, but they are in the room at MAREI. So talk to people, build relationships, bring your deals to the meeting, talk about them. The passive investors are looking for deals. If you're the passive investor, there's also some other opportunity. If you are accredited, you can get into syndications with apartments. You can invest in oil and gas. You can invest in a syndication of somebody building build-to-rent subdivisions. There's all kinds of options. So that's the 6th way. Now we'll go back to what the rest of us do. There's the wholesale it strategy, and that is going to give you cash now. You're going to buy low, sell high for a profit. And there's a lot of different ways to wholesale. Some people are going to go get it under contract and sell that contract through an assignment. They're going to go get it under contract and resell it. They'll buy it for 5 minutes with either the end buyer's money, which is really hard to do these days, or they'll get a lender for 30 minutes. The way I like to buy a wholesale deal is actually buy it with money from a private lender or I didn't do a hard money lender, I did private lender. And then hold it for a week. That lets me do what I want to with it. And then I can list it and sell it for way more money. And I've made a lot of good deals by wholetailing it. Fix and flip, we've rehabbed hundreds of houses. It's a cash strategy also. It gives you chunks of cash. You can buy it, fix it up, and sell it for a profit. Just takes a little bit longer, especially if you're in Kansas City, Missouri, and you have to get a permit. If you need help with that, Larry can tell you all the woes that there is of getting a permit. Bet Jeremy can too. There's a few other people on here that could probably commiserate with getting permits in Kansas City. The next strategy where I see a lot of people at MAREI start, they just skip over the whole wholesale, the whole fix and flip. They go straight, we're going to buy houses, fix them, and rent them out long term. Some just buy them already fixed up. Some buy them and fix them up and rent them. But there's a lot of ways to rent them. You can do a traditional rental, short-term rental, a mid-term rental, a pad split, shared housing, residential assisted living. You can get all kinds of fancy with buy and rent, but we're just going to talk simple, the buy and rent strategy. You could buy it and sell or finance it. I know there's some people on this call that have probably done that. I've done a few of those deals where I got stuck and couldn't sell it, so I seller financed it, and boy, did I make a lot more money seller financing it than I did getting my cash now. I got payments over time, and I got interest, so it's pretty cool. You could buy it and lease option it. It gives you 2 ways to double dip. When you buy it, you get a good deal. When you sell it on lease option, you get a down payment of some sort. Not a down payment, what is it called? An option fee. And then you get cash flow over time. And if they exercise their option to buy, then you get a big chunk of money when they buy. Some people do a lease option is a 3-year deal. We went to the John Murley training and he did a 10-year lease option. He had quite the system. And if they did not want to exercise their option and would just like to stay there and extend their option for another 5 years, he'd let them do it and just keep paying him rent. And we've talked about passive investors. So when you think about what you need in the next 12 months, if you need cash and you have the time and to put forth the effort, I would look at wholesaling or fix and flips or possibly notes. That is another way. You can do the same thing with notes that you do with houses. You just don't have to swing a hammer too much on notes. I definitely talked to Brian and Michelle or Schmitty on notes. They are we've got probably a few other people on this call that do a little bit of notes, but it's a way to flip. You can flip notes for cash. So I've done that as well. If you want cash flow and you don't want to put quite as much effort, rental in some form or fashion. And if you don't want to do any other work, you don't want to do all that, you want somebody else to manage your cash and credit, you can be a private partner and let somebody else do the work. Or you can hold hands. So if you're a really experienced investor, but you're tired of doing all the work yourself, you can help train the next family, the next generation of real estate investors. Let them go out and do all the work of finding the deal, putting the deal together, and you teach them how to manage the contractors with a little bit of help from you, and you can fund the deal, and then you can split the profits on down the road. So those are some options to think about, but you're going to have to pick out what is best for you. And then you need to remember that real estate is a team sport. I'm not a big football person, but my husband used all of these analogies in our real estate investor meeting when we were training our son. It was my husband and I and my son, we all invested together. And football was always discussed at every one of our meetings. And so let's talk about that. Every player that comes into real estate investing brings something to their real estate game. They might have money to invest. They might have credit. They might have time. They might have other skills. They might be very good negotiators. They might be good contractors. They might know a lot of contractors. They might be a realtor, a lender. They might have other real estate knowledge. They might have this something else. They might be a tech guy, so they know how to go use AI to create a chat bot, to do some direct mail or do marketing to get motivated seller leads. You can bring things like that in. You also might be bringing some of your shortcomings. You might have a lack of money, time, credit. You might be afraid to ask for help. You might have bad real estate education. And you might be having limiting beliefs that maybe the education should be free, you don't have anything to offer, nobody's going to help me. And we all bring things to the game from our lives, our personalities, our fears, and our preferences. We also bring out some other things. We have free will. We can all choose what we want to do. And I found that a lot of the newbies that come and never, ever, ever get off the sidelines, they have the free will to keep learning and they have the free will to sit on the couch, but they don't have the ability, they have the ability to change their future and get up and do something, but they don't get past it. So you have to use your free will and use your ability to change things if you're not getting where you want to go. And we live in the United States, so you can do anything here, I understand. Just look at the current and past president. If you can get that far as either one of them, we can all do anything. You might bring cash credit skills and knowledge. Whatever you're bringing, you have access to the community to fill in where you're missing. They can help you learn, they can help you connect, and they can help you do deals. They can help you obtain what you lack. They can help you find money. If you ever have a good deal, bring it to any of the meetings. Somebody in the room, if they don't have the money to do the deal and partner with you, they probably know somebody that would, if it's a good deal. If you lack the credit, say you wanted to do a bigger deal, apartment complex or something, and you didn't quite have the credit, but you had a substantial amount of money down from somewhere, you might find somebody that will partner with you and bring their credit score to the table. You might have networking skills that help you find all the things you need. Maybe you don't have the renovation skills. I keep trying to talk Don into this. He has the renovation skills, but he doesn't want to do it. So I'm like, well, not hire some new guy, partner with one of the new guys, let them oversee all of it, and you just go check up on the job site once a week instead of every day. But I haven't quite talked him into doing that yet. Some people have more people skills. Some people have sales skills or specialized knowledge. Other thing you need to have is the ability to get things done. You need a support network. You need confidence, determination, risk, and tolerance. And having a community that supports you will help you get all of those. But what I find is when I look at the successful people and then I look at the people that are still sitting on the sidelines, I see that the successful people are just willing to get out there and take action. They're like, well, I might not have it quite right. I might not be perfect, but I can go out there and I can give it a shot. And I would always try to do that if you can. I have this saying in my office. I was told by my son at one point when I do marketing for MAREI, that has a misspelling here or it has a punctuation error there. And I'm like, you got it done or there's perfect, but you can't have both. I don't wait for perfect. We just get it done. We can get it perfect later, but I haven't found anything where anybody's gotten everything perfect. So if you're one of those people that I can't do a deal or I can't go do something until I have something else in place, get over you don't have a business card. We were talking about that at the meeting last night. And everybody kept going up, well, who has a business card? And nobody had a business card except for maybe the lenders. Everybody else is, yeah, I haven't had a business card. Don't worry about it. I have one. I just never remember to bring them. But you don't have to have all of that in place. You just need to learn the 8 things and start taking action on the 8 things. And I'll talk about those 8 things in just a minute. You also might bring some things that are not so good to the table. You might mistrust everybody. You might go, who do I trust? Who can I go to for advice? Or you might be too trusting and you're like, I'll just lend anybody anything and they'll be great people. You can't ask for help. You might have bad support systems. You might have analysis paralysis or limiting beliefs. And we'll go through some of those. So some limiting beliefs you need to overcome. We've talked about that for just a minute. You might think, and I see this, I used to see it on Bigger Pockets a lot. You can learn everything for free on the internet. I don't need to pay anybody to learn anything. The fastest way to learn something is find a good person of whatever is the strategy that you want to learn, somebody that you trust, somebody that's vetted, and buy their course. It's ABC 1, 2, 3, and it walks you through. Go do this, go do this, go do this, go do this. I've bought many courses and I try to do it exactly the way they say. Don't get cute. Don't try to change it. Just follow their rules step by step. If you have some of these courses sitting on your shelf that you bought in the past and they didn't work, why did they not work? Did they not work because the cellophane didn't come off of the package? Did they not work because you didn't actually go through it? Or did they not work because you didn't try it? I had a course I bought on wholesaling many, many years ago. I read it from cover to cover, and it had step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I did step 1, I did step 2, didn't work. I sent my first set of mailers like it said in step 2, and nobody called me. So I gave up for 6 months because life get in the way. Then I said, okay, I'm going to try this again. I already bought all this marketing stuff. I already have it. So I sent that same mailer again to the same list of people. We got a bunch of phone calls and we bought our first wholesale deal and flipped it to the neighbor and made $12,000. But because I tried the first time and I didn't get a phone call off the first time, I gave up and said it didn't work. But luckily I went and tried again and lo and behold, it worked and I wholesaled for quite a while. So pull off some of those courses. But if you're trying to figure out who do you trust, if you're going to pay for education, you can look at some of the speakers at MAREI. I would highly recommend our master classes. A lot of those master classes you see on the calendar, they're $47 for members, and they're not taught by gurus. Some of them are gurus. Most of them are people like us that run their own RIA. I'm a part of an organization that has 12, 13 other groups, and the leaders at their groups, we all come together to help teach those classes. So you find whatever they're teaching, you have an expert on the screen. Usually they have nothing else to sell you. They're just giving it all away right there on that class. So I would check those out. No one will help me. And I see this everywhere. Everybody is afraid to ask a question. Nobody's going to help you if you don't ask. That's true. But if you go ask for help, if you're at the New Investors meeting, ask for help. If you're at the MAREI meeting, ask for help. If you're at Winvestors, ask for help. But I'm pretty sure that quite often before the meeting, there is a meeting, and after the meeting, there is a meeting, and they're all people there asking for help from other people in the room. At the MAREI meetings as well, come early and ask for help, stay after the meeting and ask for help. Somebody there can walk you through, and it can be simple as asking a question of what did that mean? Or would you look at my deal? I used to have people that bring me their deal and go, I don't want to do it, I'm afraid. And then I would end up buying their deal, and then they could come watch what we did, and then we made money and we paid them referral fee for bringing us the deal. So those are things you can ask questions. I would try to ask at least 10 questions every week on real estate. There's no stupid question. If you can't find somebody, there's no meeting to go to, jump on one of the Facebook groups and ask. What else do we got? I'm not good with numbers. That might be a thing. I'm not good with technology. I'm not good with tools. I'm too old. I'm too young. Tools. Don has rehabbed 360 properties. Don is my husband. He's rehabbed 360 houses. About house 25, he liked to help. He wasn't very good at helping. He had a drill and a screw gun, and he would like take down blinds, and he helped a little bit. And about house 10 or 12, the contractor threw his tools away. They went in a dumpster because we had an emergency clean out because The house was done at 4 o'clock and Section 8 inspection was at 4:15, and we had to get everything out, and his tools vanished that day. And after that, the only tool Don was ever allowed to use on any of our rehabs was a broom from time to time and his cell phone and clipboard. So if Don can rehab 360 or 80 houses and have no idea how to use a tool, you can learn that. He's not good with technology either, but we've taught him how to use Excel spreadsheet, and we've taught him how to use Facebook and email. I'm not good with numbers. I'm really good with numbers, but I always get them backwards and forwards, and I transpose them. Don always is like, why do we let you do anything with QuickBooks or bookkeeping? You always get the numbers backwards if you're not in QuickBooks. And you're never too old, you're never too young, and you can be too busy, but you can always figure out a way around that. But I've met people at MAREI that we had a couple that I haven't seen them for a while, but they were rehabbing a house and they were in their mid 80s, and that was what they were rehabbing and flipping houses because that's what they like to do. Overcoming limiting beliefs. They have nothing to offer. I would never go to somebody and say, hey, could you help me? And you can go ask a question, but if you wanted some help on a deal, you want to have something to trade. And you're like, well, I don't have anything to trade. I don't have any time. I don't have any money to partner. I don't have any knowledge about real estate investing. Go back and think about what else do you have? What do you do in real life before real estate? You might have technology skills. You might know somebody so you could connect somebody with something. You never know what you have to bring to the table. You just got to think about it. We had one person that was coming to MAREI. He had nothing to offer in any way, shape, or form, but he had a computer and he recorded all of our meetings for us. So he traded his recording the meetings for doing other things. And he came to a lot of the training classes to get the education he needed. So there's a lot of different things you can trade. So you can either sit on the sidelines and obsess over your shortcomings, or learn and ask for help to get past your shortcomings. You can pretend they don't exist, or you can be jealous of others. You can just say it's not going to work. I wanted to kind of talk about MAREI. She was her and her husband came to MAREI, we're both married, but MAREI with a Y. She and her husband came to MAREI probably about 12 years ago, and they were investing together and doing rental properties, but she was kind of on the sidelines. She did the bookkeeping, but she was shy. She was afraid to talk to anybody. She really didn't know everything that was going on. She didn't know how to rehab a house. It was mostly his business, and she was helping him. And then he died and left her with 7 houses. And she's like, I don't know anything about real estate. The only thing I got going for me is I work at Home Depot. She quit her job at Home Depot and got a job working in property management so she could learn how to be a property manager for her 7 or 9 properties. And now she's no longer a property manager working for somebody else. She's a property manager managing her properties. She goes out and buys them, she rehabs them and rents them out. But when she got started, it was all dumped in her lap by default, and she got over it. So when push came to shove, if you have to, you'll figure it out. That's what helped Don and I. We both quit our jobs a little too soon, and if we didn't learn how to do it, we weren't going to eat. So we kept at it and used our determination. Not being able to eat and pay the kids, put food on the table for the kids gets you to do a lot of things. So think about this too. Not everyone has everything they need. Even the most experienced investor needs some help somewhere. I can't work Zoom and PowerPoint today. It's a team sport and you need to find the right team. So this is just a simple example. You might come into the meeting and you have no cash, you have bad credit, but you know how to contract, you know how to rehab houses, you know lots of contractors, you know how all of that works. You have super determination. Another person comes in, they have no time, they have plenty of money, they have great credit and determination. Together, they can go out and do a deal. So what does it take? I'm going to do a quick recap. What does it take to be successful so far? You need to look at your financial goals. What do you need in the next 12 months to solve your problems and get to your ultimate goals on down the road? What do you have to bring to the table? Cash, credit, time, or skill? Then look at those 5 exit strategies and pick the one that's going to fit your goals and your resources the best. And I would, inside of that strategy, talk to the most successful people in the community that are doing what you want to do, what you want to learn how to do, and take them out for coffee. Meet them early at the MAREI meeting or any of the other meetings. Stay late, talk to them. Brian and Michelle, everybody wants to pick their brain. They are holding office hours for 4 hours a week every Wednesday. I go there and take advantage of it. The new investors meeting that just started, some of you were there last night, and while there was a lot of brand new people that were just getting started, there was a lot of experienced people there that are willing to help. And if you come to the MAREI meeting, there are super experienced people in that room, and all you got to do is go up and talk to them. And if you don't know who to talk to, ask. Go, hey, Kim, who does this? Who do I need to talk to? And I'll probably tell you to go talk to Eric or Larry or Brendan or anybody else in the room that's there regularly. I don't know everybody, but I'm working on it. I'm trying. So what do you need to learn? So you either need to know it now or you need to get good at it. As this is what I would do year 1. And I was at a investor training. If some of you have ever ran into Deborah Felderhoff, when I met her, she owned 5 properties, and her goal was in the next 5 years to own 100 properties. And she did it. She became known as the person that bought Subject 2 back before anybody knew what Subject 2 was. She bought everything Subject 2 and lease optioned them, and she bought probably 50 houses that way. And her thing when she was presenting for a new investor, what is the first thing you need to do? You need to learn how to value properties. You need to go look at 100 properties and work the numbers for practice. But when we are talking about how to value properties, I still use Zillow for quick reference. Never buy a house on what Zillow tells you, because Zillow is usually wrong, but it gets you started. But how to value a property, you need to have access to MLS data. So you either need to be a realtor, or you need to have a realtor on your team. I haven't ever figured out how to use PropStream correctly, but I understand you can get MLS data from PropStream as well. You also, if you're going to hold, if you're going to flip to landlords, you need to be able to get rental comps. If you're going to be a landlord, you need to know rental comps. If you're going to flip retail and not worry about rental property, I guess that doesn't matter, but you never know a house that I'm going to buy to flip. I'm going to have 2 exit strategies. I can either sell it to a landlord, I can sell it to a retail buyer, or I can keep it and rent it out myself. So I guess that's 3 strategies. And if you're in a declining market or a flat market like we are, you really want to be looking at comps in the last 3 to 6 months. You don't want to be looking at comps back a year and a half ago, because those comps aren't quite the same. We should be talking about deal analysis a little bit at the June meeting. I would definitely come to that. And we have a master class coming up in June for desktop analysis. That might help as well. Also on how to, next thing you need to learn is basic property and repair inspections. And the only way I don't know what the best way, I'm not saying you need to learn how to be a home inspector and go, this is everything that's wrong with a house. But you need to learn how to walk through and go, that roof needs replaced. That furnace is all rusty. It probably needs replaced. There are no gutters. All these windows are fogged up. They probably need replaced. The kitchen looks horrible. It needs replaced. You need to be able to learn how to do something like that. And the only way to learn how to do that is to go do it. Hence going and looking at 100 houses and making your list of what you think need to be repaired. I would go to any of these meetings, especially in the summertime. I would pay attention to the Winvestors meetings. They often will do an open house or a go visit somebody's house after the meeting. So they'll have the meeting till about 11. They'll all have lunch and then they'll reconvene at somebody else's house and go look at their rehab. I know McKenna is recruiting some people for new investors to go do some home tours. And I'm going to see if Brendan can get me their resource. He found it's a real estate not real estate, it's a home inspector training school in KCK somewhere. So it's like a house that they went in and broke everything so you can see what it looks like. So there's like 4 or 5 furnaces that are not right, and 4 or 5 bad light fixtures and outlets, so you can come see all the stuff that's wrong so you know what you're looking at. I was going to see if we could get them to let us all come and do a field trip there. And we hope to do a few more of those in the spring. We don't do them a lot in the winter because it's really cold. We don't do them really in the hot of the summer because who wants to go in a stinky house when it's 120 degrees? Not me. Okay, then you need to learn where you're going to get the money. And I'm not talking about learning all the ways there is to fund a property, but for what you want to invest in, what is the best form of funding for what you're going to do. So if you're going to be wholesaling, I would learn how to get short-term money, because you might find that even if you can assign a contract and make $10,000, let me give you a for instance. We had a house that came to us in Prairie Village. I ran the comps and it was worth $399 all fixed up. And I think we could buy it for like, I don't know, 125. I don't remember the numbers. But we thought it was worth $399. And when I ran the numbers, there wasn't enough room in it for me to buy this house. So me, Miss Big Bad Real Estate Investor that ran all the comps for our house, said, oh, this is not a good deal. Brand new investor working in my office, my son says, I drove by this house. There are multi-million-dollar brand new houses right next door that were not coming up in my comps. He says, let's buy this house and sell it to a builder that's going to tear it down. And he pulled 9 builders off of MLS, called them all up, got them to give him bids on the house over the phone because they didn't want to step foot in the house. They didn't care what the house looked like at all. They were going to tear it down. We went to a hard money lender and paid him 10 grand to borrow. We had like 75. I think we bought it for 175. So we had 75. We borrowed 100,000. We owned it for 10 days, and then we sold it to one of these 9 builders, and we made $86,000. And we didn't mind paying $10,000. But if we would have tried to assign that deal and told that builder we were making $86,000 at that time, that would have not gone over very well. We did the same thing in Leawood with a $100,000 flip. So I would learn, if you're wholesaling, how to get the money to buy it, because you can make way more money buying it and put it on MLS than you can assigning it for $10,000. Just saying. If you're going to buy and go to a rental, you need to learn how to get your money to buy it. So that might be hard money, it might be private money, it might be your money, and then you're going to refinance it. So you need to talk to local community banks and learn how they might refinance you out. I know DSCR is the flavor of the month, debt service coverage ratio loans, because they're not looking at you, they're not looking at your credit, they're looking at the deal. But you can get way better terms at the local small town bank or in a commercial loan than you can from DSCR. And if it's commercial loan, it doesn't count against your credit. So last night at the meeting, they were talking about Fannie and Freddie loans, Fannie and Freddie loans. What does Fannie and Freddie loans mean for an investor? Higher down payments, and you can only have 10 loans, and then they stop lending you any more money. And then you have to go to DSCR, then you have to go to commercial. So those are 2 places I would learn how to refinance out. I would start cultivating private money and private lenders. And I don't care what any of these guys that are coming to MAREI and advertising say, I'm a private money lender and here's the name of my company. I'm like, if they got a name of the company, they're sitting at a table advertising, they may be lending their own money, but a private lender is somebody that you know, that knows you and is willing to lend you money, and they're probably not going to lend it to anybody else. So you need to make those connections. I would also go to every lender on the MAREI list, call them up and find out what they do. So for whatever you need, they might not be the exact right person, but somebody else, they can refer you to the right person. And if you wanted to talk private money, March 2020, we had the end-all be-all guru of private money, Alan Cowgill, spoke on private lending. That was March 2020. January 2022, we had several private lenders at MAREI speak. And then in August of 2025, so coming up, we're planning on talking about how to fund deals. So those are some resources for you. Okay. What else do you need to learn? You need to your exit strategy, one of those 5 strategies. Do you need to know everything there is to know about it and understand every part of that strategy to do it? And I was on Facebook this morning, and Greg Hubner was one of our experts last month at the March meeting, and he has a post that he just put out today, and it embodies this. He said, you know, you don't need to know everything about what you're doing to get started. He said, my very first deal, I was in college, and I bought a property to how I think he was buying it house hack. He didn't give the whole deal. He says, I had no idea what I was doing. I just went out and bought a house, and I learned so much from buying that first house. And now he's out there coaching other people and has a big fund, and it does everything, and he's super successful. But he didn't worry about knowing everything there was to know about buying a house. He just went and bought a house and figured out the rest later. If you want to learn everything there is to know about your selected strategy, we can probably suggest a good quality training course or connect you with a few people that do exactly what you want to do in the community that might be willing to ask questions. And I would definitely tap into the master classes or the Express Success or any of the replays in the library. The next thing you need to learn are the basic real estate formulas for your strategy, whether that's the maximum allowable offer that most of the wholesalers and the rehabbers use as a base number, whether that is ratios for cash flow or putting it in a pro forma. Whatever your strategy is, everyone has its own different formulas. And we have 2 great resources I want to point you to. Andrew Sirios has written 2 articles on Bigger Pockets. He's a member of MAREI. He teaches a lot. We have a lot of videos in the MAREI library from him that'll help you out. But if you'll look for his blog on Bigger Pockets about real estate metrics or real estate formulas, and then also look for his guide on due diligence. Both of those will get you where you're going. We're getting there. I'm almost to the end. We're getting there. What else do you need to learn? You need to learn how to find deals. That was a big question we talked about last night at the new investors. We also talked about it at the MAREI meeting last week. And last week, Troy said 90% of his deals are coming from MLS right now. His strategy on MLS is to make, he is also buying in the urban core more, or the low rental housing. And he is just making an offer on every house there is, probably at half price, maybe even less. He's not trying to get them to take his offer. He's trying to get them to counter his offer. If they don't take it and they take somebody else, he tells them to put it on backup. And that's where a lot of the deals come, is when you put them on backup. And he says he's getting 90% of his deals today that way. He also likes driving for dollars, where he's driving around and looking for the rundown houses and knocking on doors, sending letters to the people he can't speak to when he knocks on doors. And that's where he's getting a lot of his deals. He also talked about tax delinquent houses and some of the vacant strategies that Larry was talking about, going down to dangerous buildings. So those are some ways. At the new investors last night, the flipper in the room, she's getting most of hers directly from MLS and wholesalers. And I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of wholesalers out there that advertise. The wholesalers that really know what they're doing, I know 4 or 5 guys that wholesale houses, that's all they do, and they've never marketed a house ever on Facebook or anywhere. They already have a buyer for it before they ever even get it under contract, because they have their list of 4 or 5 guys that'll buy everything. And getting to know those wholesalers, you're going to get the better deals that way, rather than getting what they can't sell because it hit him. If it's being marketed, the pocket buyers didn't want it at the price they had it. You can also go do all your own marketing, direct to market, to find your own deals. You can market to, there's just hundreds and hundreds of ways. I could be here all night. If you want to get, we have 100 ways to generate leads. It's in the MAREI library, or you can go to, I think it's MAREI.org/leads and download it. But it's like, I don't know, 60 pages of 100 ways. It's probably 120 ways, all ways that I've utilized to generate seller leads. But we've talked about the top ways here. So you need to work on that. And if you go into the 100 ways, don't do all 100 of them. Pick 3 or 4 and do them. Pick the ones that you will do. They all work as long as you do them and you do them right. Now let's talk about direct mail for a minute. I don't know how many people in here have done direct mail. So you're going out and you're building your list of whoever might be motivated, and you're mailing a letter to the owner of the property. I don't know. There's a big bad investor out there. He has TV ads on TV right now. He probably buys several hundred houses a year. He probably owns 400 or 500 rentals. And he has hired somebody to do direct mail for him. And I keep getting a letter from him, and only him, because it's incorrect. It seems that I am the proud owner of the Parkville Post Office, and I keep getting a letter at the Parkville Post Office asking me to sell him that address, and it's the Parkville Post Office. So I don't know where he's getting a list that says I own this property. Nowhere in the world does it say I own the Parkville Post Office, but because I have a real estate investor LLC and have been known to own rental properties, he's just mailing me a letter, I guess, but it says he wants to buy the post office. So I've also had one person that was trying to buy my notes, only I wasn't the owner of the note, I was the borrower. So if you're paying somebody else to do direct mail, make sure you're mailing the right party for the right reasons, because there's some marketing company out there doing it wrong. You also need to learn how to make offers, and the only way to learn how to make offers is to do it. But before you make an offer, I'm sure you can get with a realtor to help you walk through writing an offer, another real estate investor. How I learned to make offers, I was a realtor, so I knew how to do regular realtor offers, but I worked for investors. And I had one investor, Ryan Tebegamp, he would use me to list some of his properties. And so while I wasn't writing offers, I was taking his offers, but I learned so much because he would tell me how to negotiate the deal. So I was getting a lot of input from him. And then when I was doing some of my own deals, I'd call him up and ask him, hey, how do you do this? So talk to people at the meetings and they will help you, bring a deal. Hey, how do I fill this out? We'll help you fill it out. I need to do a class on how to fill out a contract. Maybe we can get somebody to do that. But the best way to learn how to make offers is just to make them. Basic negotiation skills, again, is going to take doing. You can go online, I'm sure, and find a ton of, I'm sure ChatGPT could give you some scripts of what you want to do. Tell ChatGPT or Grok, I don't know if Grok's good at it, but I would think ChatGPT would, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. And this is the scenario. What should I say? If you also go into some of the gurus out there that are telling you all this, the guru of whatever the strategy might be, if you Google hard enough, I can usually find scripts from them for free on the internet. I've found a lot of stuff that just gives me some scripts of what to say. But negotiation skills, there's tons of books on the strategy and technique. But to negotiate on a real estate deal, really and truly, is just getting out there and practicing. Sometimes you're really good at it. Sometimes you're really bad at it. And if you screw up, just go on to the next one if you don't get the deal. We did have a speaker in January 2023 that did talk about negotiation, so I would check that out. So what are we going to tap into? Other events. I've gone through the calendar, all the stuff. MAREI Meeting, Home Resource Network, the New Investors, Winvestors, the Northland Meeting. There's another meeting tonight if you're a real big cigar guy. There's a group that meets at the Outlaw in the Northland on the 4th Thursday of the month. And then they smoke a cigar and talk about real estate. And I'm sure there's alcohol involved. There's another group that meets in Blue Springs, I think on the 3rd Thursday. So if you're way out east, check that out. I don't know what else meets. There's a lot of other stuff that you'll run into. You just hang out on Google and Meetup. I would make it a goal, and this is one of the things I've done in the last 3 or 4 months. I make it a goal to try to go to something in person or virtually every week, so that you can connect with more people and learn more things. If you are looking to learn specific topics, I would check out the master classes. Not everyone's going to fit what you need, so I'm not saying go to every one of them. But you're going to find, if you're wholesaling, there's stuff that's going to help you on wholesaling. If you want to buy and hold, we have topics. If you are learning how to be a successful business, we have topics like that. And if you want hand holding from A to Z on everything, I highly recommend our Express Success program. You may or may not know Vina Jones Cox. She is from Ohio. She grew up, her dad was a landlord. She became one of the biggest wholesalers in Ohio. And now she does a lot of creative deals. But she runs Express Success, and they can cover anything you want to learn in real estate investing and residential. She knows a lot about notes. Her significant other is a big note guy. So whenever I need help with notes, I'm usually calling him to help me through a note deal. But I would check that out as well. And do you need a mentor? Everybody comes to MAREI and I'm like, I need a mentor. Who's a mentor? I'm like, there is nobody here in this room that's going to say I'm a mentor of probably what they're thinking about. So somebody that you could, sit down and hold your hand A to Z through everything. There isn't one person, but there's going to be a lot of people that will mentor you on different areas. You're going to need a lot of different mentors for a lot of different reasons. You're going to need them forever, and they might change over time. And you might get them by paying money, but you're going to get a lot more by building relationships with them. And the easiest way I can explain building relationships is, if you go, I see this at the MAREI meeting all the time. Everybody's like, hi, how are you? I'm Kim, I'm Bob, I do this, change business cards, move on. And what do you have at the end of the evening of that? Anybody, what do you got? Big old stack of business cards, but you don't have a clue what anybody does? Take some time, talk to them, find out what they do, find out what they might need, take notes, follow up with them the next day, the next week. When you see them at the next meeting, take time to talk to them. It takes 4 or 5 or 6 conversations to start building a relationship. But once you can see each other across the room and go, oh, we know each other. We know what each other, we know what we each do. Then you have more of a relationship, because I know when I need a foundation guy. I am not going to the stack of business cards in my drawer going, okay, who's my foundation guy? I'm going, oh, let's call Larry Meyer and ask him who he uses. Let's call Brian Winberry and ask him who he uses. Let's call this person. All people I have relationships with. I never touch those stack of business cards. So you want to take time to get past a stack of business cards. Yeah, they're great. If you can't find anybody from your relationships, then you go to your business cards. But I would always start building relationships, making connections, so you can go, oh, that's the person I need. That Deborah Felderhoff I mentioned, she went to every meeting and made sure everybody knew that she would take over a loan subject to. She was the only person in town that would do that. And guess what? Every person in town called her when they had that deal, and she bought it. I think I fed her 20 houses because she was the only person. Why I didn't do it, I don't know. Stupid, I guess. Subject 2 wasn't in 2006. You also need professional relationships with attorneys, CPAs, and title companies. I can't stress building relationships with these people enough. These are all expensive, maybe not the title companies, but I had a relationship with a title company. I closed all my deals with that title company, and 99% of everything I know about contracts, title, and closings, I learned by calling that title company on speed dial for 3 years. They also saved deals for me because the seller was terrified, and the closer could talk them down, or there was all kinds of title issues, and my title company say, sorry, there's title issues, you got to solve it. They walked me through how to solve it. Having a good attorney. I have several attorneys that I've built relationships with, and I can call them and ask them questions or ask them at the MAREI meeting, and I never see a bill. I talked to a CPA from Ohio last week. I was supposed to be billed $150 an hour. I haven't seen a bill, so I guess I'm not getting one. You want to talk to all of the lenders. They might not be the lender for you for right now, but if you need help figuring something out on a loan or even anything else, no matter what you're doing in real estate, the lenders know who does what. So I call the lenders when I need a referral. You need a roofer, a foundation guy, call the lender. They probably have one, especially the hard money lenders. You need deal sources, agents, wholesalers, auction sites, marketing tools, and you need connections. And I would start at the MAREI Business Directory. There's a ton of those in there. And the next thing you need to learn to do is ask for what you need. At the monthly meetings, there's always time at the beginning and at the end so you can ask questions. Subgroups and focus groups, the monthly online help night, that's the 30 minutes before this meeting. In person, online, and in our private Facebook group. If you haven't found the Facebook group, that is a great place to ask a question. Emailing me works, but I would prefer you ask it in the Facebook group because you're going to get an answer faster, and by somebody that probably knows more about the question at hand than I might. And all of the stuff other than the master classes I've talked about are free to members, and the master classes are super cheap. Don't struggle with a concept or a term you don't understand. So if we're at a MAREI meeting or anywhere and the speaker starts talking and you're like, I have no idea what that word meant, and if I don't know what that word meant, the next 20 minutes are not going to help me at all, stop and ask. Say, hey, wait a minute, I didn't understand that. Because if you don't understand it, 10 other people don't. I try to remember to do that at the back of the room, but sometimes I don't. But it makes this presentation make more sense as long as everybody understands what the words are. Ask somebody to go look at a deal or review numbers with you. Ask to go do a ride along. Larry said he had somebody from last night's meeting that wanted to just ride around for the day and buy him coffee and feed him lunch. So Larry's like, oh yeah, sure, you can feed me lunch. Don't ever not buy or sell a deal because you didn't present it at the meeting. So if you have something you need help with and you think it's a deal or you need somebody to tweak it and tell you no, it's not, bring it to the meeting, bring it to one of the subgroups. Somebody in the room can talk to you. And if it's a good deal and you're short on funds or you're short on time or knowledge, somebody will help you if it's a good deal. If it's not a good deal, they'll tell you. You need to put some tools in place. You need to have access to MLS somewhere, somehow, some way. So either you need to become a realtor, you need to have a realtor that will let you log in on their system, and usually that's going to be your business partner or your spouse because technically that's illegal and they're not supposed to let you do that. They do have RPR, however, and supposedly every agent has RPR for free. And it's a nationwide system for realtors that pulls MLS data. And supposedly they can give anybody access to RPR up to 3 people. So if you need access, realtors might help you with that. PropStream will get it for you as well. You need good contracts. If you're buying through realtors, they have them. If you're buying off the street from Joe Blow, we have some contracts in the MAREI library that will get you started. Do you need to have everything under the sun done? No, but I would have a phone line. I highly recommend some sort of website that can be a Facebook page. I would have social media and some way to have secure storage so that you're not just having personal data sitting out on the counter and your list of trusted advisors. So what are we going to do? First thing, we're going to learn what a good deal is. So we're going to go out and find all the potential properties we can find anywhere, anyway, anyhow. It doesn't matter if they're what you're looking for. You just need a house to go look at. You want to go evaluate them in person or on photos if you have enough. Run the numbers, comps, repairs, and ask somebody to review it just to make sure everybody's on the same page. And calculate offers and practice. That's the best thing. Somewhere when you make it after 50 evaluations, you'll be ready to start actually making offers, closing deals, and then doing whatever it is you plan to do with it. Some common traps I see the new people doing that usually they get started and then it all goes to hell and they say real estate doesn't work probably because somebody scammed them and then they leave. So what do we want to watch out for? Taking advice from the wrong people. So if somebody comes to you anywhere and it just doesn't sound right, ask somebody else. Because every once in a while we have little trolls that show up at all these little meetings trying to siphon you off to go do something else. So if somebody's, pulling you aside, wanting to talk to you one-on-one without anybody else listening, I would ask questions and talk to somebody else to find out if that's legit. If you think it's just wrong, ask me. I'll go talk to them, and we have thrown a few people out and told them they're never allowed to come to MAREI again. You'd hang out with those who don't support you or your efforts. So that's usually family that doesn't believe it'll work, or friends that don't want you to succeed and be better than they are. So don't hang out with the namby-pambies that tell you the sky is falling and it's not possible. Hang out with people that are doing what you want to do. The other thing, and I have this big problem trying to do everything yourself. You can't do everything yourself. It's not possible. You can for a while, and then you're going to have severe burnout, give up, and quit because you just can't keep up. So embrace technology. I embrace having a cleaning lady to clean my house. Don embraced somebody to mow the yard. Those were our first two hires besides contractors because we don't know how to rehab a house. But you need a good title company. You need all these people. They're all great resources. You just need, and you might need an assistant at one point or another. Get hung up on things that don't really matter. Worrying about getting a logo. I had one person, they couldn't go out and look at a house and talk to a seller because they didn't have a logo or a business card. You don't need those to go talk to people. The other thing that really got me, and we don't see this as much anymore, was the big traveling road shows that would come to town and sell you a package for $20,000, $40,000, $50,000 that had A to Z everything you would ever want to know about real estate investing. You don't need to know A to Z everything there is to know about real estate investing. You just need to know your strategy and the basics to get started. You can add fancy buzzers and bells as you go along. Then you can add asset protection and tax savings and tax strategies and 1031. But you don't need to know all, you need to know what they are maybe, but you don't need to know about them before you've ever bought a house. So don't worry about 20 steps on down the road. Just worry about learning the steps you're on right now, the 4 or 5 around where you're at. Procrastinating on things that don't matter, talking to people and looking at houses and making offers are going to get you past that. So don't procrastinate on talking to people. Go do that tomorrow. Whether you're ready to buy a house or not, go call every for sale by owner on Craigslist or Facebook. Maybe Facebook. I don't know. Wherever the legitimate for sale by owner houses are. I used to say go to, the Kansas City Star. We used to have a page, a whole book in the Kansas City Star. That's the newspaper in Kansas City. It used to be. And it used to come in paper form. And there was a whole real estate section with 400 houses for sale every Sunday. And you could just start at page 1 and go through and call all the for sale by owners. There's usually 20 or 30. You got to do that in Craigslist and Zillow. And there is a for sale by owners section of Zillow that's separate from realtors. You have to hunt for it. And just talk to sellers. Go look at their houses. Practice making an offer. You don't have to actually buy it. Just practice. Getting out there and putting yourself out there. Another common trap I see is people starting with more than one strategy. And when they pick that strategy, trying to do more than one deal at a time when starting out, I know everybody's like, you need to scale, you need to be marketing for your next deal. As soon as you buy you never stop marketing, and that's true. But when you're starting out, do that first deal, get it done, and start over. Getting in over your head with a package deal. That was my mistake, and I've seen this several times. Some lucky investor out there stumbles across a package deal. They've never owned a rental property in their life, or maybe they've owned one or two, and they have this awesome package deal, usually of crappy houses that somebody really wants to get rid of, and they're going to make you a great deal. They'll even seller finance you very little money down, and there is no way in hell you're going to make money from it because you have no idea what you're doing, and they're crappy houses. I had that problem. I got 50 houses at once. Don't ever do that unless you already have 4 or 5 or 10 rental houses and you have the systems and infrastructure in place to take on 20 or 30 or 50 extra houses. I would never buy more than 2 if you're brand new. What do you think, Larry? 50 houses for a brand new person? You're muted, Larry.
Yeah, 50 houses at one time. You need to have a list of bankruptcy attorneys if you want to do that. That's the kiss of death. Buy one, start to finish, go buy another one. I've talked to a lot of people that they buy one house and all of a sudden they want to look for an apartment building. Don't do that. One house at a time. Get your feet wet, have problems, solve them, move on to the next one.
The other big thing I see a lot of new people do, and this is the big one that drove us crazy, asking for help and then ignoring the advice given. Don did a rehab class, we did a class and he sold this package where he would help you go look at houses, inspect the house, decide if it was a good house, make the offer, help you buy it, manage the rehab. He had 5 people that all brought him houses. We went through the deals, great deals. They wouldn't buy the house. I'm like, you paid us all this money for the advice to decide if this is a good deal or not, and you won't do it. So if you're not going to take the advice, don't pay the money. The other thing I see, and this is the way it should work, you select your strategy based on all of your what you bring to the table and your goals. You learn the basics of how to do it, and then you go back and start over because you decide that's not for you. Well, that's okay if you decide that's not for you and you don't work so hard and that's just the wrong strategy, but you do it over and over again. Or you go learn how, you do it once, it doesn't work quite the way you thought it would be, so you go back and pick a different strategy. And you get in this endless cycle. What's supposed to happen, you select your strategy, you learn the basics, you go do your first deal. It may or may not be a good deal. Usually the first deal is you break even or lose a little bit of money, but you go do it again and you do it again and you get good at it. Then you build systems. I don't know why there's percentages all there. Don't know what that means. Then you improve on those systems and then you stick with what you're doing and keep going, or then you go add something else. So you might say, I'm going to learn how to wholesale. And you go try it and you go try it and you go try it. And maybe you do 1 or 2 deals, but you're like, this isn't working. Okay, well, I'm gonna go do rehabs. And you try to do one, and then you're like, you do the flavor of the month. We had that really bad at one point. Every time we'd have a different speaker, everybody would change what they were gonna do. I'm gonna go do notes today, and now I'm gonna do apartments, and now I'm gonna do Airbnbs. Pick one thing, learn how to do it, implement it, get good at it, build a system so that it can run itself or somebody else can, and then you can add a next strategy. That's what I highly recommend. So what my first steps might be, if you may have already started, I would join MAREI and dive into all the resources that I've talked about, or check the resource page out on the calendar. I'll email it out tomorrow that had all the links to stuff I said to check out. Go to the meetings, and I'm not saying when you join just pay the money. You need to go to the meetings, go to all the free stuff that there's to go to, look at the master classes and pick out some that are going to be great for what you want to do. Take those classes, talk to people, ask questions. So make it a goal to go to one thing a week and ask 10 questions. Come to the meeting. When you come to a MAREI meeting, I always say prepare. And I'm not saying an elevator pitch. Make a list of 10 questions and bring them to the meeting and ask them. The vendors are really great people to ask if you don't know anybody else in the room. Take time to learn those 8 strategies. And by the time you get through learning all those 8 strategies and asking questions, you're going to start seeing deals run across. And don't ask me how that works. But I've learned when my son joined us in the business, he came to the meeting at the office every day and listened to everything we said, and he just sat there and he just sat there and he sat there and he sat there. And Don said, "Get in the car, we're gonna go start looking at houses." And when we got out of the building and started looking at houses and talking to sellers, all of a sudden he started doing deals. Because when you're talking to sellers, you just learn things. It just works that way. So I would check out the free stuff for members and join tonight if you haven't already. If you join, you get all that free stuff. You can access it in the library. I got some links there.
I remember going to a MAREI meeting. Oh, this was like almost in day one, and I walked in and there was a table and I just sat down and the conversation was, what real estate books is everyone reading? And I'm just listening to the conversations and this and that. And I asked, I said, well, how long have you guys been reading about real estate? Oh, I've been doing this for a year and a half. I said, well, out of this whole table, I said, who at this table has actually gone out to a house, opened the door, gone in, kicked the tires, laughed at the poor construction, and then walked out the door? And they're looking at me like I'm, and then, I just asked them to hang upside down from a tree for an hour. I found another table to go sit at. This is not a spectator sport. You have to go out and do it. Kick the tires, go look at the house, talk to people. Like Kim said, that's the only way you're going to learn. That's it.
And you never know who you're talking to. A lot of times you'll walk in, and I made this mistake Tuesday night. I was talking to a guy, and I was expecting brand new real estate investor. My preconceived notions, he was a brand new real estate investor, and I was like, well, you need to talk to people because everybody here does something in real estate. And I go, and you don't know, there's probably 10 or 12 secret silent millionaires in the room. And I look at him and he has white hair like Larry. I said, you're probably one of the secret private millionaires in the room, probably. And he goes, yeah, no, not really. I only have 17 rentals. So I might make $1 million in equity there, maybe. But I just assumed he was brand new because that's the way he was approaching me, was as a brand new person. Yet he had 17 rentals, but he wanted to learn something different. It wasn't over my head, but I'm like, you need to talk to somebody more advanced than me. So I connected him with Eric because he wanted to learn how to 1031 exchange those 17 rentals into an apartment complex. And I figured Eric has done that hundreds of times. Go talk to Eric. Jeremy, looks like you might want to share with us. Turn the screen on. I'll make you
Well,
talk.
I don't think I have a whole lot to share, but I've learned a whole lot. So you just have to keep perseverance. You can't give up, and you have to quickly learn to pivot and reach out and find new people. Sometimes maybe you ask the same question or the same problem to 3 different people, you get 3 different answers instead of just going with the first answer. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that because everybody's going to do it a different way. And you might find new ways to do it that are more suited than the person you were asking before.
That's true. When we would talk to a contractor, everybody's like, you go in and tell the contractor what you want done and have them do a bid on what you want done. And that's true to a point, but you also want to ask him what he would advise to do because what he advised to do might be cheaper and might make more sense. But if you're strict by the book, do it my way or the highway, you might end up with exactly what you asked for, and it might be exactly what you did not need.
Right.
And your contractor,
it might be a told you so down the road.
the contractor might have saved you. We had a house we were rehabbing with a brand new contractor we've never worked with, and we're like, save the cabinets, it's too expensive to buy a new kitchen. We walked in the next day and the kitchen was gone. And he says, it was going to cost me this much money to redo these cabinets. I went out and bought you a brand new set of cabinets and it's $1,000 cheaper than me refinishing what you have. Are you okay with that? I saved you $1,000. And so don't stick to your guns when they might have a better solution.
I've got a quick question.
Uh-huh.
It's to Larry's point, talking about going out and looking at houses, talking to sellers. Is there any less value when you're talking to like a listing agent for a property on the MLS? Is there less value in talking to listing agents as, like a gatekeeper to the seller? Is there more value in trying to go directly to the seller?
I don't know what Larry's gonna tell you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't like butting in but I always want to be direct with the seller. If they have it listed with a realtor, then that's who you're going to have to deal with. Um, Not anything against realtors. I was one. I don't have the license anymore. I just got rid of it because I never used it. But sometimes the truth and real estate agents don't walk on the same side of the street. I'll just leave it at that. So I always like to be direct with the seller. And ask a lot of questions, but that's always my preference.
Mm.
I get calls all the time, wholesalers, and I'll just flat ask, are you the seller? Are you direct to I need to be direct with the seller. And he says, yeah, it is. And while I've got him on the phone, I pull up my Propwire, I pull up the property, and I realize he's lying through his teeth. I just hang up. So yeah, you got to be direct with the seller.
And for
Thank
those
you.
of you that were not on early, Propwire is how Larry figures out who owns houses. I just put that in the chat. And
And it's free.
I would say if it's listed on MLS, you have to work through the realtor. But if you are trying, and that's fine if you can make a good deal with what the realtor will tell you, but you're gonna get a much better understanding of what the problem is that you need to solve direct to the seller. So usually when they call, I have a realtor. If it's something that the numbers make sense and I can just go look at it and make an offer, great. But usually I'm like, well, if your listing expires, give me a call.
Yeah.
And I'll go look at it anyway, just so that I know what it looks like, if they call me back. But I usually won't do anything until they call me and tell me their listing expired.
Yeah.
That's great.
You'll get a better deal.
I had one seller that called me up and I asked her flat out, why don't you just have your listing agent drop your price $10,000? Listing agent won't allow me to drop my price. Okay, plus when your listing expires, call me back. She had some plan. This was like August. She wanted to sell her house on December 18th so she could get on a plane December 18th and fly to her condo that she was taking possession of December 18th in Florida. And so she called me back after the listing expired and I paid her $20,000, $20 or $30,000 less than her list price and relisted it. I did absolutely nothing but clean it out and relisted at the appropriate price that she could have easily dropped her price.
What's the best way to talk to someone?
Pardon? We only got half the sentence. But what was really strange was this lady had 6 months. She could have dropped her price and sold it with the realtor and made way more money, but she wanted it closed on a particular day and she wanted the peace of mind knowing that. So after her listing expired, we wrote her a contract that said we'll close it in 6 months on December 18th. And put substantial amount of money down.
And actually, if you're not a real estate agent or a broker, I mean, then you can't cross listings. But if you're just, a regular guy walking around, and you're not getting the straight shoot from the agent or they're not calling you back, which a lot of times doesn't happen. There's nothing stopping you. You just find out who owns it and just go directly to them. Hey, I'm sorry, I'm not getting a straight answer from your real estate agent. If you want to sell the house, then let's work out a deal, and all your agent has to do is write it up and collect her money and move on to the next one. So there's nothing stopping you. You can call the seller, as long as you're not a broker or a real estate agent. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. I've done it.
Kim, I have a question. Is there a basic formula for knowing if a property is a good deal as a rental?
I glossed over that, but there is a resource on the resource page that I'm going to email out tomorrow, or you can download from the calendar. Andrew Sirios has a ton of videos in our thing that goes through a rental property, and he wrote a blog post on formulas, and he wrote a blog post on due diligence. They're both on Bigger Pockets, and they explain exactly what you're asking verbatim. I'm sure every person's going to have a different answer on what a good rental property is. I would probably say I would turn that over to my landlords to ask them what they would pay for a rental property. I don't know if you have an exact formula, but I would also turn to Andrew. Larry, what is your formula if you're buying a rental property?
Um, I figure out, how much do you want to make off the rental? So you kind of work backwards. If if you're getting it financed, then how much, here's, find out what your taxes and insurance are. And then you can plug in a monthly payment. And if you're getting, you can rent it through Section 8 for $1,500 a month, then I can't pay any more than 1,000 or 1,100 to make this worth my time. And then I just work backwards on payments, and I work backwards on all that. I figure out how much do I want to make, and I just work backwards on it, and I come up with here's the best I can do, and I just go from there.
Anybody else do it differently? Because I know some people have a 50% formula and a 30% formula, and they work on all of those formulas. And Andrew's article, both of those posts, goes through every formula that everybody uses. I'm not a formula person. I'm more Larry's speed. I usually work with exact numbers and run it down. And
Yep.
if the profit or the cash flow or whatever it is where I want it to be, then it works. But if it's not, then I still make an offer, but I make it my offer, not what they're asking.
Right. Exactly.
But we will also talk a little bit of numbers for rentals and flips at the meeting in June. So I highly recommend that. We have Pat Grace is our landlord voice, and I think he knows a lot of rental properties. And then we have a husband and wife team that flip houses. And I'm losing it right off the top of my head. I can't remember their names because they are new to MAREI. And they are representing their flippers. And then I have a property manager that does pad splits. So she's going to tell us what she would do differently to the property that we're looking at if it was a pad split. Because you might not rehab that exactly the same way as you would for a flip or a retail buyer. I don't know who else is landlords on here. I think Jeremy has a few rentals, and I think Kathleen might have some rentals. I don't know everybody else. All right.
Larry, I have another question for you. This is Robin Beebe.
Oh, yeah.
So you talked about not being a real estate agent any longer. So if you go and you talk to the owner and they are being represented by a real estate agent, how do you manage the process of, are you not represented, or how does that work?
No, I'm not, if I'm just, plain old Larry, and, I mean, obviously, if the seller's smart, he'll say, I've got a real estate agent, I'm being represented, you need to call them. And that's usually the end of the conversation. But I will, if I call them directly, and I'll ask them, questions, I'm not being represented. If we work a deal, then, seller, well, not anymore, but one would assume that the seller's paying all the commissions because I'm not. So that's up to them. If she wants to give them just the listing commission, that's great. If she wants to pay the full 6%, that's great. My price is my price, and you're not getting any more. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I know when I do that, I'm not being represented. So I'm a lone eagle. I'm on my own.
And as an agent, every deal we've ever offered to a listed property, I never took the buyer agent commission even when they were offered.
Wow.
Even the house I'm sitting in that I bought from Don Julian. I'm like, I am representing myself. I was represented, but I was an unpaid representing agent, and they took my commission off the listing. So you can you can be unrepresented even if you can be
Oh, of
unpaid
course.
as the represented agent, I guess, if
There's-
you're
there's-
representing yourself.
Right, there's nothing says that you can't work for free, so that, yeah, no, that's exactly right, and in your case, that was the right thing to do, so. No, I'm, most of the time, I have an agent call them, I hired them for a reason, and that's the end of and then I don't bother them anymore, I'll just go deal with the agent, and, if I can't get a deal worked, then I go somewhere else.
Thank you.
That help?
Yes, thank you.
All right, we got any more questions? I said you're supposed to ask 10 questions a week and you have 2 more days. So this is your opportunity because I think this is the last meeting this week.
Okay, I've got another one for you. This is Robin Beebe again. So with there being foreclosures, I just looked at the foreclosure list on like Realtor.com. I know it's not the MLS, but it doesn't look like there's a lot of foreclosures available in Kansas City right now. Would the MLS have more than what's just out there on a Realtor app, like Realtor.com or Zillow?
I don't know.
There aren't a lot of foreclosures out there, and they're not all going to be in MLS. I was somewhere and they said they're still listing houses on Hubzu. I have not looked at Hubzu in 3 years, but they said they were buying houses off Hubzu. Some Hudson and Marshall had properties. They just showed up on my email list recently, and they were a big auction company for Millsap and Singer, which is a big foreclosure company in Missouri.
Right. Yeah.
Auction.com has properties as well. That's where most of them are getting listed is auction.com. But if they're on auction.com, they're usually in MLS, but maybe not anymore. I don't know.
Or you need to find out who the REO agents are, because they're the ones that get all the listings. They've got a handful of agents that they deal with, and they just funnel them all off to them. So,
What does that mean? I'm not familiar with that acronym.
oh, REO stands for real estate owned. That's the bank term for foreclosure. The bank owns they own the real estate, which they don't want. So it's called an REO, so it's real estate owned. So they all have their own agents that they deal with. They're under contract as, do whatever they do. And back in 2008, 9, 10, the good old days, I was the broker of record for Fannie Mae. And that's all I did was deal with foreclosures, not on the sales side, on the property management side. And there was only, and I had to stop everything else I was doing. All I was doing was foreclosures and throwing people out. And there was only 2 or 3 agents that dealt with hundreds and hundreds of houses, in the metro area. So,
And in 2002, we had one company that did all that. And I worked for that company in 2002.
Yeah.
He was screwing them over, my broker was. So that's why they didn't have just one company after that.
Yeah.
But you're right, Robin, there are way fewer. In 2008, 9, and 10 was crazy. There was thousands of them in Kansas City, and now there's probably tens of them because the banks don't foreclose like they used to. They sell the note to somebody else and let somebody else figure it out. And usually that somebody else ends up being a real estate investor at some point. And then we work out a deal where they either give us the house back or we renegotiate the loan, and then they don't get foreclosed on. So there's way fewer of those than there used to be.
Okay.
And there's just fewer of them because we don't have the bad market like we did back then.
Well, I noticed because I look kind of all over the country, or at least in certain areas that I'm interested in, and I noticed that Houston has a ton of foreclosures, like a crazy amount of foreclosures. I don't know if you know anything about that market and why there's such a high foreclosure.
They changed the rules on Airbnbs, and they had a lot of Airbnbs in that area, and now they don't. They were also oversaturated with Airbnbs. So I know a lot of the Airbnb people are going out of business, and so that might be affecting part of it.
Got it.
And taxes are not helping. and insurance is not helping. And I would say in Houston, they probably have insurance issues because being on the coast.
Right.
I mean, I was in Galveston a couple months ago, and Galveston is built below sea level, and Galveston is the island right off of Houston, and Houston is below sea level as well. So I'm sure they have huge insurance issues between hurricanes and flooding. So that's probably affecting them there.
Okay.
But we also, with the rising market that we've had since 2020, people don't get foreclosed on because they can list their house and sell it for more than they owe.
Yeah.
But in 08, 9, and 10, the house that they bought for, 200,000, they could only sell it for 150. And so they couldn't sell it and pay a realtor, and so they ended up in foreclosure. Or people just stop paying because the house is worth less than what they paid for it. And so they're like, yeah, I'll just go to foreclosure. It's easier.
Okay.
Well, it looks like we are right at 9 o'clock and my voice is done. 2 meetings in a row and I can't talk anymore. So thank you all for joining me. I hope you learned something. I hope I see you at a future meeting, and I hope you ask questions and get out there and look at houses and talking to sellers, because as you do that, things start happening because you just, I don't know, juices start flowing, brains start working, and you end up in front of something that does make sense. So getting out there and doing it is the best thing to do. I will send out the replay tomorrow. And if you jump on the MAREI member calendar, the resources of all those links and all those replays, that is already on there. You can download it and take a look at that. But I will have the replay for you sometime tomorrow. Depends on if my technology will work. Today was not a good day for technology.
Right. Thank you, Kim.
Thanks. Thanks for helping me, Larry.
Oh,
You too,
no
Jeremy. And
no
everybody
problem.
asked questions. Thanks for the questions. We love those.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kim.
Thanks, Corey.